Guys, we're taking a look at the last few Legacy of the Valiant cards. Very excited about this pack, and it's coming out in a couple days. So these are just kind of the more kind of added on cards that weren't necessarily in the OCG pack, but are going to be in this pack for the TCG. Cards that some of them aren't even in the OCG yet. So very interesting. A lot of one-off cards here, but also a lot of cards that fit into certain archetypes. So first off, we have Sylvan Mikorange. So this one's kind of an interesting one. It excavates when it gets destroyed, which is really cool. The thing about it is that when it gets excavated, all your monsters, your plant monsters, get attack and defense. So interesting for setting up big plays. Still kind of interested in whether this is going to be used, just because it's can't excavate, as easily as some of the other cards that Sylvans have. And then we have a Ghostrick Yeti. Really nice having a Ghostrick with 2,000 defense. Very nice defender. And also can protect your Ghostrick monsters. So when you're going on the offense with your Ghostricks, very good to use this card to protect your stronger ones, like your XYZs and stuff like that. And then Bujingi Pavo. So this is a really interesting card. So this one lets you use it from the hand when your Bujins get destroyed to kind of resummon them and kind of regroup from whatever you're losing. Very important because Bujins usually don't have a lot of field presence. They usually rely on 1 or 2 cards, so being able to get that back is very, very important. And then Gravekeeper's Heretic, so the last Gravekeeper. Again, I'm very excited for Gravekeepers in this whole pack. So this one's very interesting. It has 1800 attack, very different for a Gravekeeper. The big thing is that it's not affected by any card effects when you have Necro Valley. So it's not going to get the boost from Necro Valley, but it's going to be a nice beater that your opponent can't do anything about except destroy by battle. So a very interesting card. When you have Necro Valley on the field, you could start using Dark Hole, Torrential Tribute, and not worry about this card. Very interesting, having a card that's not affected by any card effects. Very cool. And then new Noble Knight Peredur. So I'm not as experienced with the Noble Knights, but I know that having a 1900 attack one is pretty nice, and also the effect that it can recycle the Noble Arms cards, which is very important. Otherwise, it's pretty similar to the other Noble Knights. Not much to say there. And then Gwenhwyfar, so this is kind of a support card for the Noble Knights. You can equip it to the Noble Knight, and then it gains attack, and then it does effects based on whether it's light or dark, which is very cool. Both the light and dark effects are really interesting. It has a protection effect when it's light, and kind of has more of an aggressive effect when it's dark, so really interesting. Oh, and also a thing about that I forgot to mention, it can be used from the graveyard, which is really good. So Obedience Schooled, this card is crazy. You have to really see the potential of this one. So you can special summon 3 level 2 or lower beast type monsters from your deck. The big point of this is that no matter what, if your deck supports this, you can get easy synchros, you can get easy tribute summons, you can do a lot of really cool things. The big thing is that you can't special summon unless it's a beast type monster, so you're going to be summoning beast type synchros, but there's a lot of really good beast type synchros that fit into this, like Natura and there's some of the other ones like the Unicorn. But one of the things that I really was excited about this one is you got to think about the potential with the God cards. Summon it or use this card, summon the God cards. It's that easy. It's going to be really, really interesting to see this card. I'm wondering if this card's going to get limited or something because of how great some of the combos are going to be. A very interesting card to keep an eye on. The First Monarch, so this is another cool one. So this is a trap monster, but it's a very, very specific trap monster, how it works. So it's level 6, 1000, 2400. So decent defense. Level 6 allows, if you're running a level 6 Synchro, or not Synchro, XYZ deck, this will be really, really useful. Also, it can be used for 2 tributes of a tribute summon monster with the same attribute of it. And you have to declare an attribute. So the big thing about this is it can be used for the Mega Monarchs really easily, but also it has a big downside that you can't special summon monsters that don't have this attribute. But in addition, you can use that to mess with your opponent. If you give this to your opponent and you declare Divine, for example, they won't be able to special summon any monsters. So another really cool card. It has a bunch of different uses. Obviously, it's made for Monarchs, but there's a lot of different things you can do with it. I'm very excited to see this one. These 2 other cards are kind of just common random cards that I guess are in this pack. I'm not really sure about these ones. They're not really that interesting, so I'm not really going to touch on them very much. Some of the other cards, Queen Angel of Roses. So this could be tribute summoned with a plant type monster. So again, plants have a lot of tribute monsters that they have access to. This effect's really interesting. It just constantly destroys face-up monsters with the lowest attack. So if you combine this with certain attack increasing and decreasing cards, or if you make sure your opponent has face-up cards, it'll kind of wreck their field. As long as you put out a strong field presence and can keep them face-up, your opponent's going to have a lot of trouble. Along with that, they're getting Rose Witch, which is one of these tribute summon monsters, or monsters that you can use for tribute summons that works as a double tribute. Plants have access to some of the really craziest double tribute monsters, so this card will be very, very big for decks that use some of those big plant type tribute summons. Snapdragon, really interesting card. So it banishes one random card from your opponent's hand until the end phase. It can be good for like big plays, but I'm not sure if many decks are going to run this. I can see this being useful in Sylvans though. So Alpacaribou, Mystical Beast of the Forest. That's a long name. So this one's a double tribute monster that kind of protects your winged beast, insect, or plant type monsters from battle or effects, depending on what position it's in. So in certain decks this could be really useful. If you're worried about effects or battle, you can use this card. It can be very good with like Gustos, decks like that that rely on a certain type of destruction. So a very interesting card, not sure if people are going to run it or not. Dododo Buster, just pretty simple. It's one of these cards that you can special summon when your opponent has a monster and you don't. But the thing about it is its level becomes 4. Still, in an XYZ heavy deck or in a Dododo deck, this will be really good. It can also special summon from the graveyard when it is tribute summoned. So it just gives Dododos, even more XYZ access. Pretty standard for them, but still a very good card. So Interplanetarypurplythorny Beast, obviously like the other one, really interesting. So if a monster you have is destroyed by battle, you can special summon this from the graveyard. So easy 5-star XYZs or tributes or a bunch of other things you could do with this card, which is really nice. A big thing about it is if you use this for XYZs, you can detach it and keep using it over and over again, which is really nice. It gets banished only if it goes to the graveyard, but obviously when it's an XYZ material, that doesn't count. So it could be very, very good. And then we have Starship Spy Plane, just a weird card. You could special summon this when your opponent has an XYZ. These days it's really nice to have a card like this because of how prevalent XYZs are. And when he is special summoned, you can remove one of your opponent's spell and traps, but it bounces it, so it's situational. Can be nice for decks that rely on a lot of special summoning and 4-star XYZs and things like that, and also are probably going to run up against a lot of XYZ decks. And then we have Powered Inzektron. So I really like just more 6-star synchros. I don't think there's enough 6-star synchros that are really good. So I really like this one with 2500 attack and a really good effect. So it can't be destroyed by battle or card effects, and you don't take any damage for the turn that it's synchro summoned. Very, very good in combination with some other cards. Because it's a machine, you can use like limiter removal, power bond, things like that are going to be very, very useful with this card. And then finally, Mighty Warrior, another 6-star synchro. Just good for helping you do some extra damage on top of your field presence that you're already doing. So it can be a really interesting card, and can combo with some other cards that are really interesting. It doesn't have to send the card to the graveyard, which is how some of these cards that do the same thing work. So that's really good. So I can use it on like tokens and stuff. But so that's all the cards in the Legacy of the Valiant pack. I've gone through all of them. Very, very excited for this pack. If you're a subscriber of mine, be looking forward to me probably making a Sylvan deck, new Gravekeepers, probably a Ghostrick deck, stuff like that. I really want to see what you guys are going to come up with these cards. What cards do you think are really cool? I personally think a lot of them are really useful. I think this pack overall is going to get a lot of play in a lot of different decks. But I hope you guys like this series. I hope it helped you guys, get informed about some of the cool cards that are coming out. If you like this video, you could subscribe or hit the like button. I'd really appreciate it. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later.